Hello, my name is Demirel Ikram, Event Manager, and on behalf of my team, I welcome you all to the exclusive webinar series of Free From Food, Dubai. We have selected speakers for you that will enlighten your knowledge and insights on interesting topics to inspire and learn more about on how to do better business in the Gulf region. These speakers are specialists in GCC food, retail, and import businesses. The second chapter of the webinar series will embark on the following topics: why the free from sector is hot right now in the Middle East by Victoria Bolson, founder Bolst Global. From Waste to Taste: Innovative Solutions to Combat Food Waste by Alexandra Molokova, Research Analyst, Euromonitor International. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria from Bols Global, and I'm really excited to be here working in collaboration with the Free From events, and for the very first time bringing the show to Dubai this coming September. So we are absolutely delighted as a business to be partnering and working with Free From events, because this is really a specialism both in terms of our geography that we work within and also within the Free From and health and wellness sector, as you will see in my short webinar that I'm going to be delivering for you today. So the topic for today's webinar is a few key facts on why the free from sector really is a hot place to be doing business within the GCC. So this sector is full of opportunities in lots of different areas, lots of growth happening. I've got some statistics to share with you. So I wanted to take you through that and a little bit more about the markets in question as well. Now, the GCC, just to be clear for everybody, is the Gulf Cooperative Council that was developed and created in the 1980s. It technically comprises of 6 territories, spanning a population of approximately 50 million people, within Saudi Arabia being the largest market in terms of population and size usually, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain and Oman. Now, to cover all of that today would be absolutely impossible. I would love to, but we've only got a short 10 minutes. So what I want to do today is to actually just focus down on the United Arab Emirates specifically. Obviously, Dubai is where the first free from is going to be taking place in September. So just to hone in a little bit more on that market and the opportunities and the size of the market that could bring for yourselves who will be potentially attending the show, exhibiting as well, and making the most of the opportunities that the free from events Dubai has to offer you this September. So just a quick intro about myself and who we are at Bols Global. So effectively, we are an international trade consultancy and an export solutions provider. So we work on supporting health and wellness brands specifically, and specifically within the GCC and the wider Middle East, helping brands to set strategic export plans and implement them successfully to be able to either enter the market for the first time, or if they're already in the market, audit, support and help them grow their business opportunities across the region. We are connected to a large network and amount of contacts that we've built over the years within the areas of grocery retail, pharmacy retail and distributors as well. Some of them larger size, some of them smaller, some of them specifically hungry for free from and healthier products. And we help those also. We help those types of companies and stakeholders also with product sourcing at times, and also on private label projects as well, when they're looking to obviously bring in new items into their private label assortment, which is a growing area in the region, I anything to add. Our website, ballsglobal.com, does have a heck of a lot of resources. We're very passionate about helping people in this sector. So we have lots of updates, blogs, vlogs, as you'll see if you take a look. These are specific to the market, specific to health and wellness, trends, data. So do, if you get a chance, do have a look. We've got lots of free resources on there that can hopefully help those of you that are new into this market space find out a bit more about the region, understand where some of the opportunities may be for your category and segments as well, and help support and prepare you for entering or developing your opportunities in this region. So, as I mentioned, I wanted to focus more specifically on the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, in this session. In future webinars and other sessions and support that we'll be giving free from, we will hone in into other territories, but for now, the UAE is the one for today. So some key top line facts that I wanted to share with you, because I think it's always important for brands and anybody entering a market to understand the landscape, the demographics, the breakdown of who's in that marketplace, and obviously that helps to navigate some of the potential opportunities and sometimes the challenges that may be faced there. So we can see that the population is growing within the UAE. We are close to 10 million inhabitants. Now, these are very, very largely expat driven. The UAE is very much dominated by an expat community, which comprise approximately 90% of the overall population. So there's only about 10% of local Emiratis. When you break that down, most of them are in rural area, in urban areas, not rural, with obviously Dubai being a lot of the place that a lot of people gravitate to as one of the 7 Emirates that make up the United Arab Emirates. Don't forget that that is just one small area. Dubai is one emirate of the United Arab Emirates. There are 6 others, but you can see that the population largely resides in Dubai, followed by Abu Dhabi, and then a few of the others there. So it's a fairly young population. It's quite restrictive in terms of having any visas past a working age. So 30 is about the average age. And if you look at the ethnicity of the expat population, there is a large and growing presence of South Asian expats. Obviously, Western expats there and other Asians as well. So Far East, there's also a growing population in that sector as well. And age-wise, like I mentioned, very much based on the working population within the UAE. If we think a bit more in terms of the landscape of the UAE for the types of products that we're talking about, food and drink, and obviously specifically within health food and the free from sector, when you look at the statistics, given the land and the geographical position of the UAE, the country is very, very heavily dependent on importation and global supply chains. So approximately 85 to 90% of their overall food and beverage is imported. So they're very, very au fait and familiar and accustomed to consuming overseas imported goods. The other aspect which driving a lot of change in the market is the fact that there is very, very high obesity and diabetic levels of the residents in the UAE and across the GCC and the wider Middle East. As such, the government are trying to act and counteract this both from a legislative point of view. So there are things such as sin taxes, sugar taxes that are coming into play to try and counteract consumption of those products which are less healthier for obviously the residents and people residing there. Also initiatives going on around health and wellness, fitness, trying to encourage people to be more active as well, and we're seeing that happen to try and counteract some of these growing issues on obesity and diabetes. Now, having said that, the appetite is obviously there for healthier products in the marketplace, but pricing and accessibility is still an ongoing challenge, particularly with some of the lower income and single residents who have come to the UAE for work purposes. They often leave their families back home, and they are not potentially have the purchasing power of some of the other residents in the UAE. So it's always worth considering that breakdown and where your products would be targeted within the demographic of the UAE. So in terms of opportunities, I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into actually within the free from sector and health and wellness, where the opportunities and the growth is happening at the moment in the UAE. So I have some statistics here, largely taken from the latest Euromonitor report on the free from sector, but also from other resources that we have access to as well. So the organic within health and wellness, organic packaged products within food and beverage is very big comparatively, and within health and wellness the largest area. So you can see that in 2020 in the UAE, that the value of organic packaged products surpassed 50 million US dollars and continues to grow. So if you have organic products, there's clearly an opportunity there and an appetite. Free from, you can see here the sector was worth 109 million dirhams in 2021, which equates to almost 30 million US dollars, and that is continuing to rise over the next 4 years to 2025. We're looking at almost 51 US million dollars in terms of the size of the free from market. Now, if we break that down further and start looking within some further segmentation, you can see that the three key areas I wanted to touch upon here were free from gluten, free from meat or meat alternatives, and the free from dairy, which are the three largest growing areas within the wider free from sector. So free from gluten is, you can see there, nearly 23 million dirhams, $6.2 million in 2021, and is continuing to grow, particularly within baked goods. So that's a really interesting area. And we actually recently supported a brand to enter with some of their free from baked goods into the marketplace, and it's doing phenomenally well, I have to say, within modern trade grocery retail at the moment, and there's a high demand for those products. Meat alternatives is again rapidly growing. And we're seeing lots more introductions coming in, whether that's tofu, soya, tempeh, and obviously the normal animal meat equivalents of burgers. There is also, incidentally, just recently and launched at Gulf Food this year, one of the large companies, predominantly within oils actually and spreads, called IFCO, who have just launched their own free from alternative meat product called Thrive, so their brand called Thrive, if you wanted to check them out. But you can see that even locally they're now starting to develop their own opportunities within this area. Having said that, dairy, the free from dairy area is the biggest area and is representing well over 60% of the overall free from category in 2021. Alpro is dominating the category. It's very, very strong out there, obviously, given the multinational element. There's lots of other players in that marketplace within free from. There's also, interestingly, private label that's also coming out from a lot of the local grocery retailers there. So you can see when that starts to happen, the size of the market is substantial enough for that to start happening. So an interesting area if you're in the free from dairy side of things as well, to consider. One of the other areas I thought it was worth mentioning was in terms of how to obviously enter the marketplace and what would be your opportunities within distribution channels. When you look at the data within free from, the major channel for distribution is still hypermarkets, which make up a large part of the UAE modern trade retail. And it's still very much traditional in-store retailing. So you have the likes of Carrefour, who have the largest market share in the UAE at the moment, and you have other usually more premium retailers such as Spinneys Waitrose, Grandiose, which is a fairly new chain that's come to the UAE and doing very, very well. And then you have other targeted health food chains, organic foods and cafe, predominantly organic certified foods there, right markets. Then you have healthy stores such as Dr. Nutrition, and even the pharmacies. It's worth considering, could they be a potential channel, because they do obviously stock a number of packaged healthier items, sports nutrition products, free from products as well. So it's worth considering that. The other option obviously is online, which whilst it's still in a high growth phase, it's still quite a small percentage of the overall market within the UAE. You have specific retailers within grocery such as Kibson's, which are growing at a phenomenal rate. You've obviously still got the usual players like Amazon, Noon, Talabat is another one, which is quite an interesting and growing opportunity for e-commerce for food and drink. And then you've got other smaller players that are obviously operating that space as well. And then obviously you have the local distribution partners. So rather than going direct to retail, the other obviously option is to choose somebody local who are active and looking for new innovative health products for their customers, who may be obviously some of these retailers that we've mentioned, as well as other channels around convenience, fitness potentially, and a number of other offerings as well. So it's worth thinking about, and there are specific distributors looking for whether that's vegan, plant-based only products, healthier products, as well as the more generic, larger scale ones as well. So again, all just worth considering. Another thing I just wanted to mention, because I think it's important when, as part of this journey, obviously finding the right pathway in is important, but obviously once you have then an opportunity to service an order, business starting to be established, there's other things you just do need to bear in mind from an importation point of view. I just wanted to give you a few tips on this. So before you can obviously sell any products into the UAE, your products must be registered with a local UAE entity who have registered your products with the local municipality before they can enter the country. So that is a step and a process you have to go through. It can be fairly straightforward. It can be lengthy, just depending on the type of product, how, when it comes to the products being presented, how they're perceived, any claims on the packs, etc. as well. So just be wary of that. Although it's a fairly straightforward process, it can be a bit more complex in some of the additional requirements or feedback that comes back from the municipality and the authorities as they're registering it. Now, products must have labels that do contain Arabic and English, as well as a production and an expiry date on packaged goods, rather than anything like a best before. And do keep abreast of new standards on labelling that are changing all the time. There's been discussions around introducing traffic light systems, aspects of putting trans fats on the nutritional table, etc., etc. So do keep abreast of that, and they do change on a fairly regular basis. Again, if you're relying on a local partner, they should be able to keep you updated with that as well. Some products do require an extra level of certification above and beyond the local municipality. That could be an EQM, which is the Emirates Quality Mark, or the ECAS certification. So certain products such as bottled water, honeys, and a number of others may require extra certification. Plus as well, halal is another key area, and I know Thomas has already given a webinar with some great initial detail and overview around the halal certification process, which again can be quite complex. But obviously if your products do require halal, you need to make sure that you're using the right notified bodies that are recognized basically by not just the UAE but potentially the wider GCC and global halal authorities who would be approving the products as halal certified. Again, if there's any claims, they need to be evidenced. So if you are gluten-free, GMO free, and you're free from side of things, you will need to potentially provide supplementary evidence for that. And again, standard documents for importation usually, commercial invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, and a health certificate. And then, like I say, any extra certificates where appropriate also need to be considered in the mix. So that's it for me. Just a quick, like I say, it was just a quick whistle-stop tour of the UAE, particularly within Free From. What I have to say is it is an amazing opportunity for brands that are looking to come here to be part of the Free From show in September. It's going to be a great, very focused opportunity between the high level matchmaking event, the opportunity to exhibit, the conference itself. I think it's going to be a really, really great couple of days in Dubai in September. So Hope that this webinar has been useful for you, just to give you a bit of an insight. Thank you for listening. You can connect with us. My email address is there, victoria@bolsglobal.com. Quite active on LinkedIn as well. Like I say, do go onto our website and have a look at some of the additional largely free resources that we do have. And we do also have a UAE market access report if anybody was interested in knowing a bit more about that, and what we can offer for that, for some support before entering and coming into to the event. Then I'd be very happy to discuss that, and you can get in touch for more details on that, along with any support that you might be interested in us being able to offer you as you start or continue your journey into the Middle East, and specifically the GCC. So thank you very, very much for listening, and I wish everybody a great day. I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the presentation From Waste to Taste. My name is Alexandra Molokova, and I'm a research analyst at Euromonitor International. And today, I will introduce you to a particularly important topic, the food waste. During the brief presentation, I will cover two aspects of food waste topic: the urgency of food waste plight and a glimpse of innovations to mitigate food waste. There are many ways and strategies to tackle the problem, and much more on the topic in general, which is why I'm hoping you will be able to join us at Free From Food Dubai to learn more. Before I start, let me briefly introduce you to Euromonitor International. Euromonitor International is the world's largest strategic research provider. We have 16 offices all over the globe, and our network covers 100 countries with in-depth analysis on the consumer goods and service industries, and in total 210 countries and territories with demographics, macroeconomic, and socioeconomic data on consumers. The urgency of food waste plight. First of all, why are we paying that much attention to food waste topic? And is it really relevant to the Middle East? Think about this. Every year, 38 million tons of food get wasted in the Middle East. Looking at the food value chain, this is food wasted at every step. And this is also translated into products that never make it to the shelf, which puts both consumers and businesses at loss. Now, let's look at the magnitude of the plight. Food waste occurs across all layers of the value chain with varying levels of intensity. In order to best understand what kind of waste can be avoided and what needs infrastructure reform to be mitigated, it is vital to segregate food loss from food waste. Food loss is defined as food which loses quality and value before reaching the end consumer and is deemed inedible. Food loss mostly occurs at the early stages of the supply chain during production, post-harvest, processing, or distribution. Much of that is caused by lack of resource and knowledge that is necessary to handle food at these stages. Food waste, on the other hand, is defined as food that has been through the whole supply chain and reached its end consumer in a condition fit for consumption, but is still discarded. Food waste occurs most frequently at the retail and consumption stages of the food supply chain. Let's now take a closer look at every stage of the chain. Food waste gets more expensive the further down the value chain it travels, both economically and environmentally. The loss at the consumer end bears much more weight on the economy and the environment versus that at the harvest stage. Therefore, the need to change the consumer relationship with food is a pressing need not only because of the amount of food wasted, but also because of the environmental and economic ramification it has on the whole food system. To bring this to the perspective, the region's food waste is valued as 38 million tons as of UNEP report issued in 2021. Looking at the current best practices to rescue food, it is observed that most efforts are concentrated in the first two levels, source reduction and feeding the hungry, because at both these stages food value is preserved. But the actual way to resolve food waste is to not have food surplus at all, effectively curtailing the following repercussions. Accurate food demand forecasts can be very helpful, especially at retail and consumer food service level. If surplus food is already created, then the next best option can be adopted, according to where this falls on the food rescue hierarchy. Stakeholders should align their effort to prevent it from reaching landfill, as this carries the heaviest burden on the environment and the economy. Here we can observe the percentage of food wasted dependent on a category. While the absolute figure of food wasted on the yearly basis is shocking, a deeper analysis is needed to understand the underlying reasons and the ways in which it can be mitigated. For the purpose of this presentation, we are talking about food wasted at retail to consumer stages. Small steps can be taken on multiple levels, whether it's household, retail, or food service, then contribute to lower greenhouse gas emission and high efficiencies across the value chain, which would be more economically profitable in both the short and long term. Beyond a doubt, food waste is a huge issue that needs to be tackled. Over the last decade, we saw innovation across all regions, from governments and private companies to mitigate the impact of food waste. And our region is also following the global movement by investing heavily in the R&D field to create solutions that are best fit in this region's challenge. The UAE have had a number of successes in this field and managed to improve its food security ranking by 10 points over the couple of years. And this year, it's hosting the COP28 to highlight the region's effort to combat the climate change. Innovations are many, but for the purpose of this presentation, we are covering only one to give you a glimpse of the economical and environmental value that mitigating the food waste can bring. Now, let's see how producers can cycle ingredients. Global leading food brands have been on a quest for methods to increase production efficiency and create ways to eliminate all avoidable food waste sources. These efforts have led to the concept of upcycling foods. This gives the ability to produce food from ingredients that would have been originally disposed or wasted. One of the most recent innovations was in 2021, as Lindt partnered with the startup Coa Switzerland AG to develop a chocolate bar naturally sweetened with cocoa pulp powder. By using more than just cocoa seeds, this innovation is not only reducing food waste, but also allowing producers to increase their incomes, as an additional part of the fruit is now sold. A brand that has a considerable experience in upcycling ingredients is Nestle. In 2015, this brand developed a hot cereal product using upcycled ingredients and intended for low-income earnings households in West Africa. The sorghum-based porridge, branded Golden Morn, is made of repurposed sorghum from a millet production site in Nigeria, which would otherwise not be used, to which cereals are added, such as wheat and maize. These innovations create new revenue streams for farmers, reduce food waste, align brands with consumer values, and they're also profitable for producers. And here I'm concluding my brief introduction into food waste. Thank you for being with your monitor today. We hope you will join us at Free From Food Dubai to learn more about the industry, trends, and growth patterns in the area.